What's up, guys? Even though some of us are still grieving over the 34-31 overtime loss to the St. Louis Rams, it is now time for us Seahawks fans to put that in the past and look toward Week 2, which will consist of the Green Bay Packers and the Seattle Seahawks. And some people would call this Round 4. Round 4. I have a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is just pure and simple. I really hope I am wrong. I would love to come on here after Sunday night, recap the game, and talk about a Seahawk victory. And I really hope that I'm wrong when I say this, but I don't have the Hawks winning this game. I have not had the Hawks winning this game ever since I found out Green Bay was going to host Seattle. I will go into more, and again, I hope I'm wrong. Really, I hope I'm wrong. So before I tell you why I think the Hawks are going to lose this game, let's talk a little bit about the Packers. The Green Bay Packers come into this game with a record of 1-0 after defeating the Chicago Bears 31-23 in Week 1 in Chicago. Their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, by the way, so these are the players who right now we have to watch out for. I understand that the stats are kind of skewed because it's based on one game. And I understand when at the beginning of the season, stats are kind of wonky and they even out throughout the season. But these are still relatively big names, and I'm not just basing on how I feel about the game just based on 1 week of play, which you will find out. But these are the players who we have to watch out for. Obviously, quarterback Aaron Rodgers. He passed for 189 passing yards against the Chicago Bears, 3 touchdown passes, and averaged 8.2 yards per pass per play for passing yards against the Bears. For wide receiving, the Packers are led by Davante Adams, who led the Packers in receiving last week with 59 yards. And then this guy by the name of James Jones, who left the Mariners to go play football and ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. No, I'm just messing around. Although there is a player on the Mariners called James Jones. James Barnaby Jones. I went to turn back the clock now. Anyway, so there's this receiver named James Jones on the Packers who caught 2 touchdown passes to help lead the Packers to the victory. And then we got a running back by the name of Eddie Lacy. Now, Eddie Lacy and Marshawn, I would still put Marshawn Lynch ahead of a lot of running backs in the NFL, but Eddie Lacy is not too far behind. Their stats, even for Week 1, which actually favor Lacy a little bit more than Lynch, are very similar. So for Lacy, he rushed for 85 yards compared to Lynch's 73, and he also averaged 4.5 yards per rush attempt compared to Marshawn Lynch's 4.1. And this actually was a conversation when the Seahawks hosted the NFC Championship game against the Packers. A lot of people thought that it was going to be the battle of the running backs. So very, very similar styles of play from the running back position. Okay, so now why will the Packers beat the Seahawks? It's because of the cheeseheads. Yes, it is because of the cheeseheads. In Seattle, we are known for the 12th man, or 12s, or 12, or, something 1-2, okay? We basically are known for the number Aaron Rodgers wears. Okay, anyway. But that's our fan base, and we have our way of cheering on our team, and the Packers have their way of cheering on their team. But you see, the cheeseheads are very angry at the Seahawks right now. And this is not, and I know that you probably might say, well, we beat them in the NFC Championship game last year. It goes beyond that, okay? It goes beyond that. The last 3 meetings, the Seahawks have won. And they've won in some weird, unique fashion, okay? Start off with the Monday night failed Mary, okay? Now, I will sit here in front of the camera and say, yes, Russell Wilson's pass, in my opinion, in that last play of the game, did look like an interception. It did look like an interception to me. Seahawks should have lost the game. But do I feel bad? No, I don't feel bad, because for once, a controversial call actually went Seattle's way. That is a topic of conversation for another video, but let's move on. So the Seahawks were going to lose to the Green Bay Packers until the replacement refs, because there was a work stoppage by the referees union that year, made a mistake and said the ball was a touchdown when it was very questionable. And that ended the disagreement between the NFL and the referees union. They got back together, they got rid of the replacement refs, and they put in back their regular officials. So the Packers, their fans, are already upset because of that. All right. Now I understand that was a couple years ago, but if you ever want to tick off a Packers fan, just mention the failed Mary. Okay. There are two stories that I will tell you. The first one is I was in a bar with my brother, and we're watching the Patriots game against the Seahawks a couple weeks after that failed Mary happened. And we caught the Seahawks got the game-winning touchdown, and we were so happy, and we started cheering, like, saying things out loud. See, we don't need help from the refs to win games. And we turned around, and there's a bunch of Packer fans right behind us, and we're just like, uh-oh. And we immediately turned around, and we said, okay, look, we're sorry. We didn't know you were behind us. And you could kind of tell that they were upset, but their response was, it's okay, you're making Tom Brady cry. But if we were not making Tom Brady cry, I probably would have moved from one side of the bar that my brother and I were at to the other side, just to be safe. The other story I have, my brother actually, it's funny, actually, both these stories happened in Bozeman, Montana. My brother actually has a friend who is a Packers fan, and if you ever, and this was the year the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, so this is a year later. And, you know, he's talking trash and saying, oh, Seahawks this, Seahawks not going to win the Super Bowl, oh, go Packers, Packers have this, Packers have this. And all I said, as a joke, all I said was, who won last year? Oh, my goodness. The guy got this close to my face. And I was laughing. He got red in the face. You could tell that, you know, his veins were popping in his arms. So the Packer fans, the cheeseheads, are still upset over the failed Mary. All right? So then, round number 2, last year, opening week, right? The Seahawks are going to unveil their banner. They're going to host the Packers. The Packers and and their fans again are ready to say, hey, we're good enough to beat the Seahawks. You know, we're going to beat them this time. There'll be no controversial calls, and there were no controversial calls. The problem is, for the Packer fans, the Seahawks romped all over the Green Bay. Marshawn Lynch did his thing. Percy Harvin, you know, caught a couple of big plays. Russell Wilson went off. Everybody was celebrating. The banner was hanging, and the Green Bay Packers were embarrassed in primetime television on Thursday night. So now we come to round number 3, the NFC Championship game. All right. So for 56 minutes, it looked like the Packers were going to go to the Super Bowl. It looked like for 56 minutes, they took Marshawn Lynch out of the game. Russell Wilson threw 4 picks. And it was quiet. I mean, I was officiating a youth basketball game, but you could tell everybody was on their phones and groaning and moaning. Oh, my God, the Seahawks going to lose. They're not going to go to the Super Bowl. Oh, my God. And then, all of a sudden, the miracle happens. Yes, the miracle at the clink. This is the full paper from the Seattle Times. And that is Russell Wilson right there after he threw his game-winning touchdown to Jermaine Kearse. Former Washington Husky, by the way. So, if it hadn't been for the miracle and that onside kick, because in my opinion it was the onside kick that was the key to the game for the Packers, now the Packers, for the last 3 times, are 0-3 against the Seahawks. Now, outside of the Seahawks winning these games, what do all of these games have in common? They're in Seattle. And that is the reason why the Seahawks are going to go into a barn that is already on fire, that's ready to collapse on them. The Cheeseheads are going to give the Seahawks every single thing they can handle. It's going to go from a frozen tundra to a frenzy when the Seahawks come out. And the stage is set for the Packers to make a statement that they are Super Bowl contenders this early in the season. I kind of wish this game wasn't prime time, but it's kind of cool because if the Seahawks play in prime time, it usually means I get an opportunity to watch more football. So that's probably what's going to end up happening. Some of you might say, well, the Seahawks play well in prime time. Why are you concerned? I'm concerned because this is in Green Bay. And the Cheeseheads, like I said, are going to go after the Seahawks. Now, it's not just the Cheeseheads that I'm worried about, okay? I'm also worried about the weather. I haven't seen a weather forecast, but I'm going to tell you up front, if it starts to snow, or if it starts to rain, or hail, sleet, whatever, the Seahawks will lose this game. The Seahawks have a history of not playing well in cold conditions. They're good with playing in cloudy, rainy, and wet conditions, but when it comes to snow, it's the kiss of death. It really is. Prime example, I think it was 2006. There was something called the Snow Bowl here in Seattle, and the Seahawks took the field against the Packers out of all teams, and the first half, they got blown out. They got absolutely blown out. The snow was coming down. And guess what? At halftime, it stopped snowing. What happened in the second half? The Seahawks came back and won. You know, and look at the last couple of times the Seahawks have gone to Green Bay. Yes, it was in 2009 and 2008, but we're talking snowstorms. I'm very happy that this game is going to be played in September, where the odds of it snowing is very, very low compared to late September, early January. But my point is, the Seahawks, in their history, do not play well in cold, snowy conditions. They just don't. So that's another reason. The last reason I have is this. Would you like to know when was the last time the Seattle Seahawks won in Green Bay? I remember this. I was in 8th grade. Yes, I was in 8th grade. And the reason why I remember this is because it was the final year the Seahawks were playing in the Kingdom. And everybody, school-wise, was kind of rooting for the Seahawks in the sense that they wanted to see the Kingdom go out in style. They wanted to see the Kingdom host a playoff game, which eventually that's what happened. So it was in 1999, and it was November 1st, 1999, in Green Bay, and it was during Mike Holmgren's first year as head coach, and he took his young squad into Green Bay, and they picked off Brett Favre 5 times and won 27-7. Would you like to know who the quarterback of that team was? It was yours truly, Mr. John Kitna himself from Central Washington. Woo! Always nice to give the Cats some reps when it comes to talking the NFL. Unfortunately, John Kitna's retired now, but that just gives you an idea how long it has been since the Seahawks won in Green Bay. So those are the reasons why I say the Seahawks are going to lose. If they're going to win, though, they have absolutely got to solve their running game. A running game in Green Bay is very important. Why? Again, because of the weather. I'll give you an example. In the 2007-2008 season, the Seahawks played the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs, and unfortunately, it was Mike Holmgren's last playoff game, and it started to snow. The Seahawks couldn't throw the ball, and they couldn't run the ball at all. Packers, on the other hand, could not throw the ball at all either. I'm wondering if the snow was interfering with anybody seeing the ball. I don't know, I'm just saying. But the Packers were able to run the football through the snow. So regardless if it snows or not, it is very important, because of the weather conditions, it's very important that you can get a strong ground game in Green Bay. Meaning, the offensive line cannot play like the way it did against St. Louis. Marshawn Lynch needs to pull a beast mode. That is going to be the key. If they can do that, the Seahawks will be able to move the football down the field and be able to put more pressure on the Packers' defense. That is the key. If the Seahawks do not have a running game in this game, they will lose this game. Period. Not just because that's the way Pete Carroll set up the team, but it's also because we're in Green Bay. So that is the preview. That will conclude the preview of the Seattle Seahawks Green Bay Packers game. Before we head out, provided this uploads, I'm going to conclude this video with yet another NFL scoreboard, because we do have some Monday Night Football games going on right now, or tonight. It is almost halftime, and the Atlanta Falcons are leading the Philadelphia Eagles in Atlanta 13-3. In this game right now, Matt Ryan has thrown, they just scored a touchdown. So now it is 20-3 in favor of the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan has thrown 2 touchdowns. And later on, we will have the Santa Clara 49ers hosting the Minnesota Vikings in the final game of week number 1. So thanks very much for watching. Again, feel free to comment. I would love to hear some of your opinions about whether or not you think I'm being super paranoid about the playing conditions and the fans. But go ahead. Put it on Facebook. Put it on YouTube. I'll take a look at it. Love to hear from you. So thanks for watching. Go Hawks.